Hi, this is Vicki from Brewery Products, here with an episode of Beer Talk on WOYK. Joining us today is Jason Mininger from Aldus Brewing in Hanover, PA. So, another question that comes to mind, the product's name. Where did Aldus come from? It's an unusual name.
It's a good question. So by trade, I am a graphic designer and went to school for advertising and graphic design. I have a background in fine art. And one of my favorite things about graphic design is typography, which is the study of type and how it reads and how you read it and how we lay it out. So Aldus was a 15th century Venetian printer. And even the printing press had been created in the earlier part of the 15th century. Books were still not really widely available unless you were part of the church or the aristocracies. You didn't get to read a book, let alone own one. Well, Aldus thought it was really important that people had access to literature, specifically classic Greek literature. So he went about looking for a way to make printing cheaper. First thing he did was he created the italic font. The reason why he did that was because if you look at italics, you can fit more words per line, thereby reducing the amount of lines per page, and thereby totally reducing the amount of pages necessary to print a book, making it cheaper from that aspect. He also found a way to print on cheap vellum, and he also standardized the use of the semicolon. I know this is some mind-blowing stuff.
It is actually very interesting. And I would have never thought about the italic, but if anybody else like myself has been typing any type of letter in the past, the minute you make it italic, it does reduce, the size of the print on the page. But I never put the two together. That's great.
So Aldus, he's considered to be the father of the modern paperback. He wound up getting these manuscripts down to a size that we call them paperbacks, but they were pocket books that were about 4 times smaller than a typical book. And he wanted to get quality literature unabridged into people's hands.
Oh, that's
now
great.
You're probably wondering what the heck that has to do with brewing.
That's also a good, very, very good question.
Yes. So we're trying to do the same thing with craft beer, which is get quality beer into people's hands at a reasonable price that is also unadulterated. It is the same ingredients every other, super duper craft brewer is using. We use the same hops, we use the same malt. We just try to work really hard to make sure the beer is accessible from a drinkability standpoint as well as from a cost standpoint. The other thing that really ties us to Aldus is he had his philosophy or a quote that was make haste slowly. The idea to do things with great haste but make sure they're done correctly. And that's the same way we take our brewing. We don't rush things. If we're lagering a beer, it's going to lager for 6 weeks, not a day less.